What's up, guys? My name is Matthew, and I'm with the Maneuver Project. Today is another military podcast episode. Stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Welcome, guys. My name is Matthew, and I'm with the Maneuver Project, where we provide travel documentaries and podcasts consisting of travel, military, and life, including physical, mental, and spiritual. If you're interested in a podcast or documentaries, hit the like button and subscribe so you won't miss a maneuver. Now, in today's video, I'm going to share with you, and this is one of those touchy subject, and it's specifically on why I left the military after 9 years. So before I get to the video, I'm going to provide you with a quick disclaimer. Disclaimer: the Maneuver Project is not responsible for any errors or omissions or for the results obtained from the use of this information. All information in this video is provided as is, with no guarantee of completeness, accuracy, timeliness, or of the results obtained from the use of this information. In no event will the Maneuver Project therefore be liable to you or anyone else for any decision made or action taken in reliance on the information in this video, or for any consequential, special, or similar damages, even if advised of the possibility of such damages. Alright, so in this video, I'm going to provide you with the topic of why I left the military after serving for 9 years. And so in this video, I'm going to provide you the main reason I left the military. And because it was part choice-based and the other one was non-choice-based, I'm going to provide you with what contributing factors that led to the main reason. So I hope you all understand it once we get to the video. So the main reason why I left the military was because I got medically boarded out, or med boarded out. And in this situation, part of it was I chose to get med boarded. The other part was I did not choose to get med boarded. So it was more of a half and half between choice-based and non-choice-based. Now, speaking of choice-based, I'm going to provide you with 6 contributing factors that led me to choosing to get med boarded. Number 1 is the leadership. And I'm not talking about leadership in general. I'm talking about specific leaders such as toxic leaders and those who don't set the standards. And I'll give you an example. And this is based from my personal experience out of humility. So one of the type of leaders that caused me to leave the military is toxic leaders. And of course, toxic leaders can mean hundreds of things, but the main attributes of toxic leaders are: 1, I remember, and this happened when I was downrange, which means the combat deployment zone. So the first attribute that I've noticed of a toxic leader is that he doesn't want to hear problems from soldiers, including officers. In fact, he actually exhibited favoritisms by only listening to problems from his favorites. And really, the problem with favoritism is that it's a morale killer, and it just causes people to lose faith in leadership. The second attribute of leadership of a toxic leader is that they only focus on results rather than taking care of the troops. And what I mean by that is, I know in civilian jobs, yes, they focus on results or else they can't make money. But in this case, in the military, that I remember there are times when, yes, I made mistakes and I continue to improve and I continually show improvements. However, the problem with their leadership style is that, well, I don't care about how much you improve. I only care about it. Creates burnout. And surprisingly, he knows that people are getting burned out, and he still allows that mindset to happen. And that is toxic. The second type of leader within the first contributing factor is leaders who don't set the standards. And what I mean by that is leaders who are not willing to set the standards according to regulations and still allow people to not follow it. So I'll give you an example. I remembered when I first joined the military, we were taught customs and courtesies on there's a standard way to speak, standard way to stand, standard way to eat, and all that, including saluting to officers. I remember during my time in the military, I was walking by and I see soldiers, well, enlisted, I see ROTC cadets and NCOs who don't salute to officers at all. And this is sad. And I was about to question that if they don't salute to officers, why did they join the military in the first place? And whenever I try to point out the mistakes, they keep making excuses such as, "What do you mean, sir? What do you mean that, sir?" and all that, and it just annoys the heck out of me. That, to be honest, I blame senior leaders for not enforcing the standards because of the fact that, I mean, think about it. You worked really hard to earn your commission, and all of a sudden, the junior enlisted, NCOs, and ROTC cadets decided not to salute to you. And that's sad. That's disrespectful. I mean, there's a reason for customs and courtesies, and they don't do it. The second contributing factor is that I have no desire to be a staff officer for 10 to 15 more years. Now, if you don't know me, I am a person who's a leader, who's a doer. I like where the rubber meets the road, get things done, and leading soldiers. I don't like being one of those staff officers who builds PowerPoint slides, MDMP, which stands for Military Decision Making Process, going through a bunch of meetings and listening to topics that don't even interest me in meetings. And it's just very depressing. I remember after I completed company command, I feel like there's no more opportunities to lead soldiers from here on out. And I remember I had a conversation with previous battalion commander, and he gave me this harsh reality point that in a commissioned officer life, you spend about 80% of your career as a staff officer while 20% of your career leading soldiers. And I told him, like, "Sir, this is who I am. This is what I like to do, and I enjoy leading soldiers more than doing staff." And his response was, "Well, the only option is you could continue as an NCO." And at that point, I just stopped talking to him because this was where it was hard for me to accept the reality. And it took me a while to accept it. And up until one point where I'm like, you know what? I still have no desire to be a staff officer. Why would I want to downgrade myself to continue as an NCO when I made it that far as a captain? I mean, after all, getting a commission is not easy. You have to work for it to earn your commission. Commission is not something that you take it for granted. Looking at that and knowing myself that I have no desire to continue being a staff officer for 10 to 15 more years. And even if I do battalion command, which is about 10 more years down the road, I still won't be able to interact with soldiers because 90 to 95% of the time, you have to deal with brigade, which is one higher echelon than you, and higher headquarters, just dealing with them. And other 5% of the time is dealing with your company commanders. So where's the space for interacting with soldiers? The third contributing factor is the officer politics. Now, this is where I experienced being the victims of getting backstabbed by peers, and I even witnessed peers backstabbing each other just to make themselves look good. In fact, I didn't want to be one of those people who decided to follow a toxic leaders just to get promoted or get command or special assignment. The way of seeing people backstabbing each other just really sickens me. Yes, I agree that you are competing against your peers, but the problem with officer politics is that people tend to misinterpret competing against your peers as a way to screw people over just for them to get to the top. And this is something I do not support in the military. The fourth contributing factor is that I wanted freedom. Now, I remember when I first joined the military, yes, I did sign on the dotted line that I would support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I would obey the orders in accordance with UCMJ, which stands for Uniform Code of Military Justice. And when you add toxic leadership to it and you don't support them, it actually leads to leadership screwing you over by utilizing one of the UCMJ codes, such as dereliction of duty or disrespecting a superior officer. And this was at a point where I just wanted to have freedom in my life. And another part of having freedom is that I just didn't want to deal with the bureaucracies I'll give you an example. So let's say that you wanted to take leave or take time off from work. In the military, you have to submit a paperwork and move up the chain, and that's up to the leadership to decide if they will accept it or deny it. Now, if you have a good leadership who will support you, you won't have a problem with it. But when you add toxic leadership to it, it gets very nasty and it leaves you with the bitter taste. Just because you wanted to take time off and the leader says, no, I don't want you to do it. Versus if you do it in a civilian job, you just report to them that you'll be taking time off and you're good to go. But the bureaucracy system in the military where you have to submit paperwork just for a weekend. I mean, come on, it's a weekend. And you have to submit a paperwork and use your days just to take a weekend? It just doesn't make sense to me anymore. So, and plus, I mean, when you have to fill out the paperwork, it feels like you're back in high school where it's like you're being told what to do. And speaking of being told what to do, is that you always have someone to answer to. Even if you go to the highest 4-star general job, you still have someone to answer to, and that is the President of the United States. And this what causes me to have my own freedom, be my own boss. The fifth contributing factor is the anxiety and depression. Now, this happened when I was downrange, but long story short, that I remember there was one morning, where the battalion commander called me in for a topic. I can't say a specific topic for a classified reason, but then I remembered he would ask me, hey, what do you know about this topic? And at that time, my hands were already tied with other things that were due in a week. And so, because I didn't want to lie to him, I ended up responding with, sir, I don't have the information at this time, but I will get you the information as soon as I get it. And he said, okay, go. I mean, of course, he ended up getting an answer. And then fast forward to 1 week later, I remember my boss, who was a battalion XO, he called me in and started writing it up just because I didn't have the answer right away. I actually stood up to him in a written response saying that, look, the reason why I was like that is because I am not willing to lie to the battalion commander, lose my credibility, and get people killed. And this angered him greatly to the point where he decided to fire me on the spot. And that was the most traumatic event of my life, just because of the fact that standing up for myself cost me my career. And that's how I know this guy was a toxic leader. I remember I became super depressed. I had a hard time sleeping. I couldn't sleep as normal every day. I experienced a major social isolation, major stigmas from others. I lost a lot of interest in my life. I've had some suicidal thoughts just because of the fact that that standing up for what's right cost me my career. And at that point, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to deal with this kind of organization anymore because of the fact that I was trying to do the right thing and they decided to screw me over. And then I got sent home. I went to the SRU Soldier Recovery Unit, and that was where I started the med board process. And fast forward to January, about 4 to 5 months into my time at SRU, that unit came for their demob, which stands for demobilization. And right when I saw people going in, my mental health level started to go beyond a catastrophic level because of their presence, that I completely freaked out. It was very hard for me to maintain my mental health. That's how traumatic it was. I mean, yes, the leadership screwed me over in the end, and that's what caused me to not wanting to be part of the organization anymore. And here's what angers me about the boss who fired me. He got promoted to lieutenant colonel 1 to 2 years later. And I'm like, if this is how the organization will be like this, on promoting toxic people based on conformity rather than meritocracy, at that point, I'm out. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I don't want to do anything with them. And I'm done. I want to say this to you, to the audience here who are battling with mental health. If you're one of those people who are battling with mental health, as a strong mental health advocate, I want to encourage you to seek help. Don't be afraid of what other people say about you, because at the end of the day, your health is more important than your career. Your health is more important than status. Your health is more important than the social status of what people say about you, because we only have one life left and that life is too short. So I want to say that I would encourage you to seek help, because I want to say to you that if you don't get the help you need, you will struggle in this world for the rest of your life. And this is something that the mental health issues need to be taken very seriously. I know it's a very emotional podcast video based on my personal experience, and I thank you for your support in this as I'm trying to explain my reason on why I left the military. Thank you guys for watching this podcast video. I'll see you guys later. Thanks. Bye.